high desert of the Rocky Mountains is the only U.S. federal supermax prison. Its full name is A+E Florence Administrative Maximum Facility, shortened to ADMAX, or just ADX. Imprisoned here are the most dangerous and violent criminals in the world.
Some of the more infamous inmates of the ADX have been the Oklahoma City bombers, Terry Nichols, who was the mastermind, and Timothy McVeigh, who was ultimately executed.
The Unabomber, the shoe bomber, the underwear bomber.
Zachariah Moussaoui, one of the World Trade Tower bombers on 9/11.
El Chapo, only the worst of the worst.
In 1994, the Bureau opens ADX, which earns the nickname Alcatraz of the Rockies, because like its namesake, it's the most sophisticated prison ever designed.
We have hundreds of night vision cameras, hundreds of gates that are electronic. We can live time monitor over 50 languages.
ADX also has laser beams securing the perimeter and 4-inch wide windows in the cells that only face the sky, so prisoners can't triangulate their positions within the prison.
There's everything that you can imagine, plus a lot I can't discuss.
At ADX, all of its 341 inmates are in permanent solitary confinement, except for 1 hour a day during group exercise in the rec yard. They spend the remaining 23 hours a day, every day, inside a cramped, lifeless cell, alone. April 21st, 2005, 7 a.m. Federal corrections officers take groups of inmates out to the rec yard for some exercise. They're 1 hour outside of their cell each day, and the only time they are not in solitary confinement.
There is what ADX refers to euphemistically as a yard, which is really a kind of cement pen. Some of the people who we've spoken with there have likened it to being at the bottom of a deep, empty swimming pool. And that's where people exercise.
On the rec yard are 8 members of the Mexican Mafia, including one of their leaders, Manuel Tati Torres.
Manuel Torres was thought to be the number 2 person in the Mexican Mafia. The Mexican Mafia is not from Mexico. It was started as a Los Angeles prison gang to act as protection for the Latinos locked up. It expanded over years into one of the most notorious prison gangs in America.
On the rec yard at ADX, the most high-tech prison in the country, tensions reach a boiling point. Manuel Tati Torres, a leader of the Mexican Mafia, asks another prisoner, Silvestre Rivera, to give up his shoes.
If somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, nice shoes, why don't you give them to me?" That means I'm here to take your shoes. And if you give them to me, you're going to be my personal slave for the rest of the time you're here. You will do whatever I tell you, whenever I tell you, or I will kill you. So at that point, you either stand up and you fight and say, "You want my shoes? Go ahead and take them if you're man enough," or you give up your shoes.
Another high-ranking officer in the Mexican Mafia, Richard Santiago, nicknamed Chuco, sees what's going on and tries to get Torres to stop, but Torres refuses.
Chuco takes matters into his own hands and he lands a haymaker square into Tati's face.
The confrontation spirals into an all-out brawl.
Fists and feet are weapons. So they stomped him and beat him to death.
Immediately, the guards dial 222 on their phone, a secret code for a prison-wide lockdown. 8:50 a.m. Over 30 minutes after the 222 alarm, the response team arrives at the rec yard to find Manuel Torres a bloody mess.
Tati is so badly beaten that he's actually beyond recognition. They tried to open his eye to see if he had pupil reaction to light, but his face was so swollen they couldn't even open his eye.
When the officers begin to question the prisoners, they are eerily silent. Several of them continue their workout like nothing happened.
The answer from absolutely everyone was either, I don't know what you're talking about, or some sort of a profanity followed by a hand gesture. The consequences, had any of these inmates given any hint about they saw what happened, would be a green light put out on them by the Mexican mafia. You're a snitch. When somebody gets greenlit, that means they're fair game for anybody to kill. Snitches don't get stitches, snitches get killed.
The murder of Manuel Torres is the only murder that has ever occurred at ADX. It stands out from an otherwise squeaky clean record for the prison.
Do they beat us at times? Yes. It's rare, but they can beat us.
To prevent future incidents like this from happening, the Bureau of Prisons tightens their grip on ADX even further.
One murder at ADX spoils it for everybody, and so now there is no human contact. They have recreation. You're allowed out of your cell into a steel mesh cage, all by yourself. No inmate prior to Tati was murdered at ADX, no inmate since Tati has been murdered at ADX.